right, got to let it breathe while we get the Facebook groups in here. 1, 2, save those changes. Gotta wait for a couple green check marks. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday night. Still waiting. There's 1. There's 2. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Dev Valley Deep Divers. I am your host, Erick Trickel, and joining me, as always, is Lance Sanderson. Lance, man, it's been not quite a week, but we Broncos football's back. You haven't had a chance to talk about the game yet. So quickly, just give me some thoughts about the game against the 49ers, and then we'll basically jump right into the game against the Cardinals. Broncos football's back.
It's back, baby, and I'm excited about it. I'm here for it, and quite honestly, my takeaways about the first team offense, where everyone was like super panicky about Bo Nix taking the safety and a handful of missed throws. I actually didn't mind what I saw from the first team offense. RJ Harvey saw some daylight, took advantage of bouncing some runs to the outside, had a couple of nice gains up front. The offensive line looked like they were doing a pretty good job outside of some of the exotic blitzes that Robert Saleh was bringing from the San Francisco 49ers.
They weren't exotic blitzes. They were basic blitzes.
A handful of that corner blitz that got Bo Nix was
it's a basic blitz. They were all basic blitzes.
I thought it was a little bit more. I thought it was a little bit more delayed, but regardless, it don't really matter. Bring a little bit more pressure in a preseason game than you're used to. It is what it is. But the offense moved the ball down the field on 2 different drives. They got in scoring position twice. They went for it on 4th down and like right at that borderline of the red zone, kicked a field goal, and it was fine. Everyone's freaking out about it. I'm like, it's just tiny, minor issues that they need to clean up. The defense, everyone's freaking out. The first team defense got gashed by Mac Jones. No, not really. They got hit with a 51-yard throw on the 3rd play of the game. Calm down. It's not that big of a deal. But then the depth of this team, but my biggest takeaway is the depth of this team looks absolutely fantastic. The twos went out there. They moved the ball up and down the field a couple different times, scored 2 touchdowns in like a minute and 6 seconds after the turnover. That Jarrett Stidham looked like he was on point. A couple deep throws there that was really nice on that 2-minute drill. The defense got 4 takeaways, 4 interceptions, something like that. Like this team it's deep. It's a high quality roster, and quite honestly, the freak out from everybody in Broncos country about the first team offense and the first team defense and the struggles, air quote struggles that they had. It's just whatever to me. It's the first preseason game. They'll iron it out. And it sounds like they had a really good practice the other day against the Cardinals in joint practice. So I'm excited to see what happens here on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with the fact that people are overreacting. There's no need to panic for it, but I will disagree with you about how the first and second team defense looked. I thought they were far worse than you seemingly did. I mean, they gave up that big play. Jaquan McMillan did, and then there was that big run that led for the touchdown. And the interior offensive line was absolutely garbage. That includes Quinn Miners. The run blocking from the tight ends were lackluster. It just was messy overall. It was effectiveness. And it's what is the saying that I like to say? Good result, bad
process.
Bad process. That's kind of how it was. Got some good results, but hey, it is what it is. No reason to panic. Not saying there is. First preseason game, they're working out the kinks and everything like that. Due to scheduling and stuff like that, they're not going to be playing. Most of the starters aren't going to be playing in this next game, which kind of stinks. I would like to see them get those reps, but hopefully they play in the 3rd preseason game to really knock off that rust as they get ready for the regular season, which is when it all really matters. As I've said multiple times in the morning shows, preseason is mainly about the evaluation process. But before we get into this previewing the Cardinals game, we first got to say hello to the chat. We have Ernie Mays coming in and say, "Go Broncos country." Todd Ossendorf saying, "Good, hello Broncos country." Rodney Garcia, good evening, Todd. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to everyone as well. Hope you all are having a wonderful Friday. Pearl Heater saying hi all. Ernie Mays coming over on Facebook saying, "Hello Eric and Lance. Go Broncos country only." Michael Ronquillo with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that so much. Saying good evening, Eric and Lance on the Dev Valley Divers. Go Bo Broncos. And as you can see, Michael Ronquillo has this little name, little badge, I guess would be the best way to put it, next to his name, which if you go over to YouTube, you can become a member of the Mile High Huddle YouTube. You guys can get access to the exclusive content we already have coming out for members, as well as more that are being talked about, being made in the works, going on behind the scenes that we're trying to, get around to implementing. So that way, if you are a member, you get access to all sorts of special content, more incentive for you to become a member over on YouTube. We appreciate those of you guys who are. That includes Flying Anger Pig, also asking why won't the starters play in this game. Sean Payton kind of highlighted it early on in the week. There were issues with the flight out of San Francisco. It ended up being delayed. They got back late. It kind of threw off their whole week. And so just because of scheduling with it, the Cardinals aren't going to play most of their starters. The Broncos aren't going to play most of their starters just because of scheduling and everything like that. So it kind of stinks, but it is understandable. You don't want to risk injury to your starters. And then we have Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Eric and Lance. I am hoping Peyton keeps all the injury guys out this week. In game 3, how many snaps will the starters take? And will Estime be on this team? Well, I'm with you. I hope the guys who have been dealing with injury, especially those starters, aren't some of those few starters that they want to play. That includes Ray Greenlaw, Alex Singleton. I'd even include some of the depth pieces that have been dealing with an injury, like Q Robinson, who's been dealing with a bit. Maybe even Devon Bailey, who's been dealing with a lower leg injury. Guys like that, I would also sit out. As for how many snaps will the starters take in game 3, no idea. It varies team to team. Some teams like to play them for the full first half. Some teams just the first quarter, and other teams just a series or two. So unsure on that. But will Estime be on this team, Lance? What do you think?
Just to go back, how many snaps will the starters take in game 3? Sean Payton said 8 to 10. They'll get 8 to 10 snaps, maybe a drive, something like that. That was one of the things that he
for this game.
Saying. No, I thought he said.
I just read the quote. He was talking about the starters that play in this game will get 8 to 10.
Okay, so I thought that he was talking about in the third game that he was going to get the starters in for like 8 to 10 snaps. So I misunderstood that. There was a second part of that quote. Regardless, back to Audric Estime. I don't know. That is one of the players that I'm really keeping my eye on in this preseason game and again in the preseason game in New Orleans next week. How can you justify keeping a guy as a 5th-round pick that has struggled, had fumbling issues, but didn't play in the playoff game, got pulled for Tyler Bidet, who missed the majority of the season last year with a back injury, and Tyler Bidet only got to see 2 snaps or 2 carries in the game against the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game. Estime seems to be on the outside looking in right now because Bidet is a much better pass protector. He has the best vision of any running back on this roster right now. Jaleel McLaughlin brings a different skill set outside of Bidet, outside of RJ Harvey as that slasher back. He showed a little bit of chops as a receiver every now and again. Not the best, but at least he can show that he can do it. And then Blake Watson's making it really hard to justify cutting him with his vision and burst through the hole, the speedy receiver, the receiving back that he is out of the backfield. Estime is very much on the outside looking in. He's going to need to have a big-time rest of the preseason, specifically against the Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints in these next couple games, or else he's not going to make this roster, just point-blank period.
Yeah, so I did. There, you were correct that he does say at the end of his quote, he does add next week, I'm going to play those guys 8 to 10 plays. But he's talking about specific people, not the full starters.
Yeah.
He's talking about specific positions here. And so it is. And then, so yeah, they'll play the starters in game 3, just not sure how much, but they won't be playing this week, which is only game 2 for it. Now, as for my answer for Audric Estime, I don't think he makes this roster. I think he is very clear the lowest running back on this depth chart. And maybe that can change. There are still 2 games left. There are still plenty of practices left. So things can still change. But I do think Jaleel McLaughlin is still on this roster. I know a lot of people are not overly excited about that. But people often forget, Lance, and this is one big thing, is Jaleel McLaughlin goes down easily. He's can't break arm tackles. He broke the most tackles on the Broncos running backs last year. He forced the most missed tackles of the Broncos running backs last year. He had more than double the number of broken tackles in the next highest running back, which was Javonte Williams. He had 8 compared to 4. So it's one of those things where there's a lot that the coaches love about him in preseason game. It's like there's a lot of talking out both sides of your mouth here. Is I've seen a lot of people, like us, we're not super concerned with the way this offense looked and not overly cause for concern. And then Jaleel McLaughlin goes out there and he struggles, and there's so much reason to worry he's going to lose a spot and all this. Like, kind of talking out both sides of your mouth here. Fact is, coaches love him. Coaches love what he brings. He really came on strong last year, so I think he's making it. And then you have Tyler Beatty and Blake Watson, who have also been vastly outshining Audric Estime and are showing more explosiveness. What Audric Estime does have going for him to make this roster is that he is the only pure power back that they have.
Yeah.
He is that only short yarded situation. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they look at keeping him on the practice squad and then activating him early on, kind of what they're going to do with Michael Burton, putting him on the practice squad, activating him, using those call-ups, and then going from there. But that's kind of where I think that it's headed for Audric Estime. And then Phil McLaughlin also says, I haven't heard how the running backs did in joint practice. I saw a lot of people publicly, Lance, talking about how the run game not looking so good in the joint practices. Let's just say I've talked to people who were there, and a couple of them reporters, couple of them within the team, and none of them understand why people are saying that the running game didn't look as well. Was it great? Was it fantastic? No, but they all of them thought that it was quite good, and multiple running backs had really good showings with the runs that they got.
Sean Payton actually kind of talked about this in the running game, how it doesn't quite look as exotic and as explosive as what he kind of talked about with the change to more wide zone running and everything like that. He also, like, his biggest point was you don't really get to see it in these joint practices or even in training camp because they're not going full tackle to the ground with these running backs. It's all thud up, wrap up, keep everybody off the ground. We're not going full contact. So you don't get to see a guy like J.K. Dobbins, who has some wiggle to him. He can actually break some tackles. R.J. Harvey is a guy that finishes runs going forward all the time. Even Audric Estime, another, like you said, the true power back on this roster, he breaks a lot of tackles, So Julian McLaughlin, again, out in space. You're not seeing the big-time results because Sean Payton says, it's hard to evaluate it when you got a quick whistle in the run game. So the referees are stopping the play early to keep players from getting hurt. So you're not seeing these guys being able to bounce off these tacklers, maybe extend the play a little bit longer, get that extra 2 or 3 yards. But from everything that I have heard, it sounds like these running backs are getting 3, 4, 5 yards per touch damn near every time they're touching the ball. And Tyler Bidet is the one that's really standing out in the Arizona Cardinals joint practice the other day. He actually got runs with the ones, with Bo Nix at quarterback, with the starting offensive line, and it looked like he was really starting to shine, and they were getting some really good traction in the running game against that starting Arizona Cardinals defense. So give it some time. Let's see what happens in the actual game action. I apologize for my dogs barking, but let's see it in some actual game action where we're seeing live bullets flying, and not just these preseason games either. Yeah, you'll see a little bit of it, but let's get to the regular season to really evaluate this running game and where it stands right now.
I do want to throw in there that Tyler Bidet wasn't the only running back who saw action with the ones in joint practices. Yes. RJ Harvey and Julian McLaughlin also did. They rotated the running backs pretty heavily in joint practice against the Cardinals yesterday, with the 4 of them all seeing some reps with it, which is a pretty good indicator that those are going to be the top 4 backs.
And I was just about to say, like, that's the damning issue with Audric Estime, because he was the one that did not see any reps with the ones, that from what I understand.
When Audric Estime and Blake Watson don't see time with the reps and the other 4 running backs do, that's a good indication. Speaking of running backs, we're going to carry this over into this topic, but leading into that, we have Rodney Garcia saying also be lookout for which running back is used for special teams. Bidet and Watson and McLaughlin. There's been a lot of talk about McLaughlin being the other kick returner opposite Marvin Mims and using him as that. And a lot of focus from me, especially, has been finding that other receiver. Courtney Jackson, the undrafted free agent, has been one. But special teams does play a factor. If you are not one of the top 2 or even sometimes 3 running backs, you got to contribute on special teams. Tyler Bidet, he's a decent special teamer. Blake Watson doesn't offer up a lot. Julian McLaughlin, we haven't seen him a whole lot so far returning. I think he's had a couple opportunities throughout his couple years in Denver. And so it's one of those things to watch. Who in this running back room continues to separate themselves? Can McLaughlin bounce back and have a good game? Can Beatty even keep that good performance and carry it over to the next game? Can Blake Watson build on it and erase? He had a couple bad series. He had a bad 3-play stretch against the Cardinals in joint practices yesterday, including 2 fumbles, one of which was a botched handoff. And can he improve that? Can Audric Estime look vastly improved from what he's shown? So there is a lot of eyes on this running back room, and I would be surprised if Dobbins and Harvey don't at least get a few snaps in this game, especially with what Sean Payton has talked about with wanting out of these running backs. But these other 4 running backs, they're going to get the bulk of the touches. They're going to get the bulk of the snaps. And so this is a great opportunity if McLaughlin and Beatty want to separate themselves, if Estime and Watson want to catch up. This is their opportunity.
I think the big thing here, you kind of touched on J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. I would kind of be surprised if J.K. Dobbins sees action in this game. If they do get it, like 1 carry, with the veteran presence there and the injury concerns you already have with him, just in my opinion, this is my opinion, not speculation, just my opinion here. I would put him on the shelf. Just get him healthy, get him to week 1.
He hasn't earned it.
Okay.
So my reason why he should is, 1, he hasn't earned it. And part of why he hasn't earned it is he didn't carry the ball at all week 1.
That's fair.
Like I'm not saying play him for, multiple series. First series, whether it be 3 and out or a 10 play touchdown drive, first series, and then you're done with him. At least get him a couple touches.
And that makes sense. I think that's probably going to happen next week, but I don't disagree with your necessarily line of thinking. It's just my opinion here is I would put him on the shelf at least until next week. And then next week, when they say, we're going to get the starters, a select handful of starters, not all of them, 8 to 10 plays, then that's where you go with it. This is the true evaluation game that you get for guys like RJ Harvey, get him a handful of touches. But then again, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyler Bidet, Blake Watson, Audric Estimate, get those guys the bulk of the touches. Leave Dobbins out for this game. RJ Harvey gets maybe the first series, yank him out. That's that 8 to 10 plays for your starter. The guy that we consider a starter is what Sean Payton said. Get those guys that 8-play stretch, let him get out there, get his hands dirty a little bit. Then just worry about the depth of the running back room in general.
So with Dobbins, with wrapping him up, and you mentioned the injury history, it's kind of that double-edged sword, right? You play him, you risk that injury. You don't play him, and his body may not be fully ready for it. And then you go out next week and he pulls a hamstring or something like that.
Yeah.
So either way, it's a double-edged sword. So I don't think injuries really matter. But it's, again, he hasn't earned it. Just go out there, not even like the full series. Rotate him with Harvey on the first series, and try to get at least each of them one carry, and then pull them and rely on the other 4 going to finish out that game. But I'm not for resting starters unless they have earned it, and no way, shape, or form has Dobbins earned it for me. Shiloh coming and saying other media sources have Jaleel as a lock due to the unique skills and now return abilities, like Aaron mentioned. It's all 4 running back 4, and Beatty was able to make it to the practice squad last year. He was, but Beatty helped himself with that Tampa Bay game last year. The back injury is a little bit scary, but then he had that big game against the 49ers last week. And Sean Payton kind of touched on this, not with Beatty, but with McLaughlin, his rookie season, where they thought they could really land him on the practice squad. And then he went out and had that 120-yard game against whoever the opponent was. And they're like, well, that scratches that. Like, we can't no longer do that. We're not going to be able to sneak him through waivers and get him back on the practice squad. So Beatty might be at that point where they may have wanted to try to sneak him through waivers and back on the practice squad, but his performance may not allow it. And so it's one of those tough things. It's why roster locks and all that are hard to really say and predict, because there's so many variables in it. And even last year, everyone thought Tim Patrick was a lock to make the roster, and look what happened there. But anybody else, we kind of talked about the running back room as a whole, and with talking about Estime and his chances to make the roster. We've mentioned Watson here. But last question, Lance, as we enter this game, how would you put the running back order?
Like in general, the guys who make the roster, the order I want to see these guys play.
Ranking them for like in the regular season, like how you would depth chart order for a regular season with all of them.
Okay, so without seeing J.K. Dobbins and like you said, maybe get him a couple carries in this game. Like I said, give him a couple carries in the New Orleans Saints game. I want to see what he looks like actually on the field. So it's 1A, 1B in either order: R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. Then it's going to be Jaleel McLaughlin, and then Tyler Bidet is the way that I would order it, at least going into the season. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Bidet take over because of his at least ability to step up in pass protection. He's not great there yet, but he's getting better. That's something that you're starting to see with him. And he does have at least good receiving ability because of the vision. If you get him the ball in space and allow that vision to take hold, he's got burst and wiggle. He can make some guys miss. It wouldn't surprise me to see Bidet take over that RB3 spot over McLaughlin, and then have McLaughlin be primarily a kick returner, special teams guy, be a spell back, like that slash back that he typically is. But the overall well-rounded skill set makes me like Tyler Bidet more as the season progresses.
So, and then would you have Watson over Estime just as for the bottom two?
Yeah, I would have Watson making the practice squad and Estime as a street free agent coming out of this whole thing.
So my thing is with the running back position is I absolutely hate ordering the depth chart based on third down. So when you talk about pass protection, when you talk about receiving ability, that's third down. Do you know how many times running backs caught the ball on first and second down last year?
I actually don't. This is
so in the NFL, there was about right around 1,000 total catches, 500, 700. I can't remember the exact number, but it was I would say be conservative. It was about 750 total catches for running backs on third down, or in total. less than 10 of those came on first and second down. Or 10%, less than 10%, sorry, of those came on first and second down. I am not ordering my depth chart based on on third down. I think so. I would put Harvey and Dobbins 1A, then 1B, which either way there, I get it. That's fine, whatever. Yeah. But Harvey brings more explosive ability to the running game. That's what I would do. And then with what McLaughlin can do as a running back with his slasher back fitting that role specifically that Peyton likes, whereas Bidet isn't a slasher back. He doesn't fit that role. Yep. And then Bidet is that fourth down guy because I think Bidet also offers up a little bit more on special teams, whereas McLaughlin's a returner. I think Bidet can also be a cover guy as well. But it is what it is. Sean Payton will come out and have his order, whatever it is. And hey, we still have 2 more games left about it. Now, moving on to the wide receiver position, I don't expect Cortland Sutton or Marvin Mims to play in this game.
Same.
Now, with that means I would say, we're going to see a lot of Vele, even though I think they should wrap him up as he's dealing with the lower leg injury. Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant. Now, Troy Franklin, he had that one great catch against the 49ers, but was relatively quiet outside of that. So the receiver I really want to see is Pat Bryant. Now, he started off camp. He made some splash plays, but there were some rookie moments. But I would say over the last week to 10 days, he's really found more consistency with his play as a receiver. He's really gotten the chemistry down with Jarrett Stidham. And a lot of people that I talk with are saying that he is Stidham's favorite target. I'm really keeping an eye on Pat Bryant to see if he can build off his game against the 49ers, which wasn't bad. He had a bad penalty that ended up taking a big run about from McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Ended up taking a big run off the board for that. But he still had 2 catches for 21 yards, and he still played quite well overall. So I'm really curious to see what he shows.
Likewise, this is the one player that I'm most intrigued about. Obviously, the running back battle is the one position group that I have my eye on going into this game alongside the safety depth. I want to see what the safety depth looks like. We'll get to that here in a minute. But the one player in this receiver room that I really want to get my eyes on again, and I thought that he actually played really well. The holding penalty on the play you're talking about was at a 23-yard run, something like that McLaughlin would have set the Broncos up inside like the 3-yard line or something. Yeah, that's a bad penalty. But he's out there doing exactly what you saw at Illinois, kicking ass as a blocker in the run game. He got a little grabby there towards the end of the play when McLaughlin bounced it to the outside. It happens. You're going to have that. But he showed the ability to get open. He was open on multiple different other plays where he actually created a bunch of different separation. The route running nuances that he has as a rookie right now are actually really impressive. And he's showing that consistency again. There wasn't any double catches. The 2 catches that he did get, he caught them firmly, got his feet in bounds. He had another catch where I thought he actually got the toe drag in there, and they ruled it out of bounds. But he showed the ability to go and do that as well. So with Pat Bryant, he's going to get an extended run in this second preseason game, and I'm all here for it, man. Like, I'm excited about what he could be as a player for this Broncos team going into the future.
Now, Rodney Garcia coming in saying, also don't forget what Philip Lindsay said about Estime's attitude and body language in the locker room. It's been bad. There's been a lot of people who have shot down Philip Lindsay's report. I'm not going to sit here and go into about my opinions on Philip Lindsay or his report, but let's just say people I've talked with and plenty of other reporters have come out and shot it down and saying that it's not exactly accurate.
Yeah,
but anyways, going on from that, which of the undrafted free agent wide receivers? So Joaquin Davis, Courtney Jackson, Kyrese Rowan, I'll even throw Michael Bandy in there because even though he's not a rookie, he's still one of those guys. Which of those bottom 5 receivers, Jerwan Newton being the other one, are you most interested in seeing against the Cardinals?
Honestly, it's Joaquin Davis. So big, long, lanky, muscular frame, got some good speed to him. And I've heard nothing but like high praise from multiple different media members that have been at practice over the course of training camp. We got a little bit of a look at him in the first preseason game. It was 4th quarter. Sam Ehlinger was in at quarterback there. I don't remember if he got a target or not. I have to go back and take a look at it. But that's a guy that I am really intrigued by. Just the height, weight, speed, athleticism combination that he brings. I don't want to say it's like incredibly rare because, I mean, there's a lot of players like that. but it is special. He's got a special type of skill set with the length that he has in his arms. I was talking to you guys in our group chat, and I was like, when you watch him out there, the way he's built, he's a little bit thinner, but the guy that I really liken him to, the way that he moves, is Malcolm Floyd, a former University of Wyoming Cowboy who played for a long time with the San Diego Chargers. They've got that similar skill set, we can take the top off the defense if we need to, jump ball skill set, that versatility to play on the outside, also be kind of a dominating blocker at the point of attack if you need him to. That's a guy I really have my eyes on. And then Jerwan Newton is the other one. Those two guys, I've heard a lot about those guys. Courtney Jackson had the punt return, but those two guys specifically are the guys that I really want to get a good look at, hopefully in the second quarter with the second team.
Yeah, Joaquin Davis, he's a guy that I don't think is going to make the roster. I just think it's too tough and too deep right there at the moment. But he's definitely one to keep an eye on the practice squad. I'll be curious to see if Sean Payton is telling Ellinger or Stidham, hey, don't target Joaquin Davis. Don't throw the ball his way. We don't want to show him off because we want to try to sneak him through waivers, which is something that coaches do. Like if there's somebody, they will intentionally not play them or intentionally go away from them or not use them in certain ways because they don't want to risk losing them on waivers. But the one I'm really interested about is Courtney Jackson. Jerwan Newton is whatever to me. I've heard there's been some flashes, but he's also been like as many flash plays that he's had in camp and training camp and practices. He's had about twice as many bad plays. Same with Kyrese Rowan.
Yeah, I was going to say super inconsistent out there.
Those are tough, but Courtney Jackson, I think, because of what he can bring as a returner as well, it adds to that intrigue. But he did have a fumble against the 49ers, which I think Ellinger dove in there and recovered, did something that Cam Newton never would. And so I'm really intrigued by him. But both of those, Joaquin Davis and Courtney Jackson, are really intriguing to me. I would not be surprised at all if both of them end up on the practice squad after this. Well, and I just think that the wide receiver room is pretty much locked with the 6 that we have as being those that make the 53.
Going back to Courtney Jackson real fast, he made a couple of bad decisions on the punts that he was able to field. The first one, he had plenty of room, called for a fair catch, and you saw as soon as he caught the ball, I was like, oh, you could tell he was frustrated with himself for doing that. And then on the second one, he held on too long, kept his eyes up a little bit too long, and damn near got killed. But he made the first 2 guys miss and had a really nice punt return, showing some lateral agility and some burst coming out of his first break. So I like the skill set there. I agree with you. I think that that's something that you can add as a dynamic aspect to the back end of this roster as a practice squad player. But clean up that decision-making, dude, because 1, you had an opportunity to maybe actually take one even further than the one you took. And then 2, the one you did take, you damn near died.
Yeah. Quarterback, we kind of skipped over it. No reason to talk about it. Sean Payton kind of talked about how they talk about keeping 3 quarterbacks. Sam Ehlinger has done nothing to deserve it. He's a guy that they could probably sneak through the practice squad. Last year they kept 3, and they talked about this. They kept 3 because they didn't feel like Zach Wilson would clear waivers and be able to be brought back. So I don't see it with Sam Ehlinger. Maybe he goes out there and shows something different, but hey, whatever. David coming in saying that. Go ahead.
Just one quick question. I don't remember how the rule works. So if you need that emergency 3rd quarterback on game day, do they have to be on the active roster?
They don't have to be on the active roster. Yes. Okay, they did away with the rule where the practice squad quarterback can work. Okay. David coming in saying the writing is on the wall for the roster belief. I don't. I think there's about 25 locks to make this roster, and I would say on top of that, there's about 20 guys that are probably most likely to make it, which is how it is almost every single year, right? You typically have I would say about 38 to 45 players that are pretty much guaranteed to make the roster, as well as some of them being guaranteed, and then battles for the rest. And it's just the same this year. There's a lot of guys that are still fighting, a lot of competition still going on, and a lot of depth spots that still need to be revolved or be solved, especially on the defense side of the ball, which we'll get to after we talk about tight ends and the offensive line. Tight ends, Nate Atkins, he's going to be missing time with an injury, which is unfortunate. He is the best blocker. I think Adam Troutman proved last week against the 49ers that he should not be trusted with blocking whatsoever. You can directly fault 2 failed runs by RJ Harvey on Adam Troutman. Yep. Which, is just going to fuel my fire and my rage about Adam Troutman as a run blocker. He's awful, guys. He's awful. Lucas Kroll, also an awful blocker. I'm not going to get super hyped up about his wide open touchdown that he had, where it was definitely a broken coverage. I'm still waiting on somebody in the tight end room to step up, it's not going to be anybody. Like, it's going to be Evan Ingram and then just slop for the rest of it.
Pretty much. Like, honestly, when they run 12 personnel, Evan Ingram's going to be split out wide, and I don't think they're really going to run into the teeth of the defense with Adam Troutman on the front side. And you can't trust Evan Ingram to be on the front side of an outside zone block.
You can trust him more than Troutman.
I mean, sure. he at least tries.
We can trust you as a run blocker more than Troutman.
Hey, I played tight end. I was gritty about it, dude. I may only
all 100 pounds of you.
I was gonna say 165 pounds. Thank you, but I could get out there at least go try. I might get bullied in the run game, but at least I'm gonna put the effort out there. Caden Prescorn, the undrafted rookie tight end, caught a touchdown pass from Sam Ellinger late in the game. That's more camp body than anything. This is from Rodney Garcia jumping in here on the chat. So camp body. I don't even know if he makes the practice squad. To tell you the truth, he's just a player.
There was a play where he was running a tight end wheel, and it took him about 5 seconds to break up field. He is so slow. He is so slow.
He's big. He's a big dude, and he moves.
But he doesn't make up for it as a blocker.
Yeah, he's a big. How big? Hold on, I gotta pull it up now.
So it's rough. The tight end room is rough, guys. Like, it still is rough. All hopes, all dreams, everything lies in Evan Ingram. May he stay healthy. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Moving on to the offensive line. Tackle, don't need to talk about it much. Matt Peart played really well as the backup left tackle. Palczewski seems pretty settled as the backup right tackle. Sean Payton doesn't really do the swings. Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, those are your starters. Do they keep a fifth one? Well, when you see Frank Crum 20 yards downfield in the end zone on a screenplay, getting called for a illegal man downfield, probably not. The other backup tackles were nothing to write up about too. So that, and real quick, we have Shiloh coming and asking about Caleb Lohner. Caleb Lohner is very clearly a project and shouldn't make the roster. He's a practice squad there. I don't think anybody would claim him. And even if somebody did, it is a risk I'm worth taking. He's had some moments in camp, but he's 57 snaps of college football. There's a lot that he's got to learn. You got to work with him on the practice squad. I'm not wasting a valuable roster spot on Caleb Lohner personally.
I'm with you on that. I was impressed with his movement skills, though. The little bit.
Well, he's athletic, former basketball player. The athleticism movement shows.
Yeah, but to see it on tape, though, you go back and watch it again. He there's some flashes there. This dude belongs in the NFL. It's just gonna be 2 or 3 years before he's really a viable threat. And if he does get a game day call up because someone goes down, Nate Adkins, for example, who had tightrope surgery on his ankle the other day. Not going to get into that whole process, but he's going to come back. He'll be fine. But late game day call up, something like that, Lohner could maybe be a player for you on like 2 or 3 snaps in the red zone, but you know what's going to happen when he hits the field because he is that basketball player with jump ball ability and crazy athleticism. You know that they're going to be looking his direction. So he's going to need to learn, 1, how to run routes, 2, how to be a blocker, and 3, just to be a better football player overall before he's really a viable option.
Yeah. And why you don't need him when you have Lucas Kroll, the GOAT, right? Right? Some of you in chat. I still remember how you were about Lucas Kroll.
Oh my goodness. That quote will live in infamy as one of the dumbest things I think that ever came out of Sean Payton's mouth because people glommed onto that and ran with it for weeks.
Anyways, backup tackle, not worth talking about. I think it's pretty settled. I would be surprised if the Broncos don't just keep 4 tackles. Peart and Palczewski backing up the 2 starters. Interior offensive line, though, this one's interesting because the 3 starters last week, including Quinn Miners, really struggled against the 49ers. Kalia Davis of the 49ers defensive line basically lived in the Broncos backfield, blew up multiple runs, absolutely owned Quinn Miners on one of them. But I do think that Alex Forsythe, he played a bad game. Xavier Truss, he played a bad game. Clay Webb played a bad game. There were 3 guys. I think Calvin Throckmorton was fine before he got hurt and had to leave. But Nick Gargiulo, fun fact, he was the only offensive lineman to play more than 1 spot last week for the Broncos. As he played left and right. He played left and right guard, moving over to left guard when Calvin Throckmorton left. And he was probably the best offensive lineman for the Broncos. I've shared some comments that I've had said to me in conversations with him in the morning shows with Nick. He is a guy that I'm keeping my eyes on as the Ben Powers replacement after this year. And I think it's pretty safe to say Ben Powers is in his final year with the Broncos. They will cut him after the season as a salary cap casualty.
You're not going to give him an extension? I've been saying that for the last 3 weeks.
You don't extend bad players who aren't worth their contract. Anyways, Alex Forsyth played bad. Everybody else played bad. But the one center, and this is tough because he's like the bottom center, the third string center. He's going against third and fourth string guys. But let me make sure I pronounce his name right here. Got to find it for a second.
Mahalski.
What's his first name?
Joe Mahalski. He played quite well as well.
He is one that I'm keeping an eye on. I don't think he's going to be able to move up the depth chart. I think it's pretty much cemented that you have Luke Wattenberg as a center and then as a starter, and then Alex Forsyth behind him. But Mahalski is the other one I'm keeping an eye on. Gargiulo and Mahalski.
Do they keep 10?
I think so.
Do they actually keep 10? Do they keep Forsyth on the roster again as that true backup center?
Think so.
Okay.
Yes.
You and I kind of talked about it. And
if they don't, I think they go short on guard, keep one true backup guard and then Forsyth, because Forsyth can also play guard and center, and then Palczewski can play guard and center. So they have that dual versatility.
That was something I brought up to you before we went live, and you said that's kind of been disproven about the backup swing tackle because they usually do keep two. And
for Sean Payton,
And I was talking because I was like Calvin Throckmorton, Nick Gargiulo, those guys played pretty well. I thought Throckmorton played a little bit better than you did. He did go down got dinged up. They pulled him out. Then Gargiulo swung over to the left side and played really well on the left side. I actually thought he played better on the left than he did on the right. But that was like my conversation. Do you keep two guards and a backup center, or do you keep two guards, or one guard and a backup center, or two guards and a backup center, making that roster math just a little bit more tricky because 9 offensive linemen versus 10 that could take away from that 6th wide receiver, maybe a sixth cornerback,
4th running back, 4th tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
6th defensive lineman.
Yeah, like there's a lot of different roster math here. So to me, seeing what Gargiulo can do in this extended action, playing on the right and left side, could make Calvin Throckmorton maybe a player that they need to move on from, or not need to move on from, but potentially will move on from.
I think that I'm not sure he would make it. So like, I'm not saying that Gargiulo would be the swing guard. Doesn't seem to be the thing of it. I think that they would either cut Throckmorton, put him on the practice squad, Gargiulo being your backup right guard, unless he absolutely goes out and kills it on left guard. I think 6 snaps is what he played on left side against the 49ers. That's not a large enough sample size. But Palczewski, I think, and Forsyth, those are the ones that make you comfortable of being able to play. Well, Forsyth being able to play all 3 interior spots, and the guard tackle versatility from Palczewski. Though the question with Palczewski is, can he play on the left side of the line? Easier to switch from guard to tackle than it is right to left. And I don't think Palczewski's ever played on the left side of the line.
I thought he did in his rookie season. He's an undrafted free agent, and I thought he played a little bit on the left side in preseason. Then he broke his hand. There's a lot. I know
he's played left tackle in the preseason. I'm talking about in regular season,
right?
When it actually matters.
Yeah, and Palczewski actually kind of struggled in that first preseason game against the 49ers. He wasn't necessarily great as a run blocker, had a handful of penalties in there too. Like it wasn't a great showing for him. I was a little bit disappointed, but again, it's the first preseason game, not a whole lot to, overreact to, but that is something that goes into the evaluation
there. Yeah. And looking up, he has not played any snaps on the left side in regular season or preseason.
Wow, I thought he did play on the left side. Okay, well, I'm wrong all the time. You know this. It's like literally the show is I'm always wrong. So whatever.
We have David coming in saying you're correct. My bad. Really tired from medical. Hope everything's good with the medical side of it, David. Yep. Hoping all is well. Now, so with the offensive line, we've talked about that. Defensive line. This one's tough because I've been very outspoken about the game Jordan Jackson had. It wasn't good. Don't get me wrong. He had one great play against, I believe it was on the second series of the 49ers, and might have been the first. I can't remember exactly which one, but he had a great play early on against the first unit 49ers offense. And then he disappeared until the thirds came in. So it's a tough one. I want to see more from him. Savion Jones had a great game as a pass rusher, but my God, was he a liability against the run.
I was just about to say that.
Ayoma Uwazurike, yeah, the hype that I had mentioned to me from practices, well, I didn't see it on tape. And then the rest of the defensive linemen, they were whatever. There was one guy, I think it's like number 72 on the defensive line. I'd have to pull up the roster, who actually had like a couple good plays. But yeah, this defensive line, you got to look for somebody because you can't have Zach Allen playing 2 games worth of snaps more than anybody else and having him miss a couple games at that like he did last year. So you really got to improve the depth on it. You got to see more from Savion Jones. So my eyes really are on Savion Jones and Jordan Jackson. With no Allen and Franklin Myers, those two are going to probably be the starters. Can they take advantage of it? And can they show the improvements that they need to? Can they show the consistency in the case of Jackson to be possibly could even be the 3rd defensive lineman as part of those, defensive ends behind Allen and more Franklin Myers over Jones, as Jackson has experience from last year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's guaranteed that Jones is that 3rd guy, and Jackson, this would be a chance for Jackson to earn it. But on the flip side, this is also a chance for Jones to run away with it.
I completely agree with you. When we were coming into this conversation, I was, typing out some notes, just some players I wanted to watch. You hit on all 3 of them. It's Inyoma Wazirike, it's Savion Jones, it's Jordan Jackson. Those 3 guys. And an underrated aspect of this conversation is the fact that Matt Henningsen tore his Achilles. Or was it confirmed that he tore his Achilles? Yeah. Okay, so that's another solid and reliable depth piece, if nothing else. He's not a spectacular player.
He's a practice squad guy.
But it's at least another depth piece that you have for this roster. Another guy you can call up in case somebody gets hurt. We really need to see more out of Savion Jones, especially as a run defender. He was completely overwhelmed out there. It was really, really bad. The flash plays that he had, the batted pass that he had at the line of scrimmage, I think that was in the 2nd quarter. The fumble recovery late, like those are all great. And he did have some chops as a pass rusher. He had a couple of pressures in there, I do believe. I know that he had the one swim move that was absolutely spectacular. But as a run defender, even one-on-one, he was getting blown off the ball, like 3-4 yards downfield, blown off the ball, completely opening up giant gaps. Fortunately, it was 72, and then who was the other defensive lineman? I think it was Jackson that was at least strong enough. Linebacker flow. Lavelle Bailey had a good game. But like Savion Jones, you draft him in the 3rd round as a versatile player who is essentially the John Franklin Myers replacement going forward if they don't get a deal done with him. He needs to develop way faster than he has, and I'm kind of worried about that, to tell you the truth. I want to see what it looks like in the 2nd game for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't number 72, it was number 75. It was Christian Williams. Okay. He had a couple interesting plays. Only played where was he? He only played 15 snaps. 10 of them as a pass rusher, but he had one against the run where big heavy set dudes chasing the ball carrier to the sideline, and actually was avoiding blockers, which was kind of funny to watch. As for the edge rushers,
who are
what's the guy's name? Garrett Nelson? Is that the new running back or new edge rusher? Garrett Nelson, the guy that they signed.
Garrett Wallow.
No, that's a linebacker, not an edge rusher. Garrett Nelson. Number 59. Garrett Nelson, he had a really good game on special teams. He also had a really good pressure late in the game, also playing 15 snaps. He looked really good. Only thing here is don't expect Nick Bonita to play. I don't expect Jonathan Cooper to play. So the other edges, Q Robinson, again, I'd kind of rest him because he's been dealing with that knee injury, I believe is what it is, some kind of lower body injury.
He has a bone bruise in his knee.
Yeah. So you have Dondre Tillman, you have Garrett Nelson, and you have Andrew Farmer. It's a bit rough to go through a game with only those 3 guys, but I would do that, because you got to see a lot more out of Dondre Tillman. He was really bad against the 49ers, absolutely owned as a run defender, which, hey, he was the best run defender of the group last year. Didn't show it at all, and that sometimes he was getting owned by the 2nd unit offensive line and 3rd unit offensive line. But Garrett Nelson, he actually had a really good game, so I'm intrigued by what he can do, and Jonah Ellis was probably one of the best defenders that they had on the field last year against the 49ers. So Garrett Nelson, he's specifically in the edge room. He's the one I want to watch. New guy, signed like 10 days ago, 12 days ago, something like that, and made an impact quickly in not only practice, but in the game.
Yeah. To me, I want to see Jonah Ellis again. What he did last week as a pass rusher, as a run defender, he's showing a big time step from year 1 to year 2. And one of the big things that I wanted to see with him was tying together more pass rush moves, which he didn't show a whole lot in that aspect. But the one big move that everybody knows that he had, everyone remembers me saying, his spin move reminded me of DeMarcus Ware. It's not really what I was trying to say, but it's the way it came out. he did develop. He's got a cross chop. He's got a swim move. He showed that a little bit in the 49ers. It sounds like he's showing a lot more in the preseason in training camp action as well. So I want to see what he actually does. He's going to get a good extended run in this game. I think him and Dondre Tillman are going to get a lot. Garrett Wilson. Garrett Nelson, excuse me. I said Garrett Wilson. Garrett Nelson. I didn't take much notes on him, to tell you the truth. The tail end of the fourth quarter I just fall asleep. The tail end of the fourth quarter, I didn't get a chance to go back and watch that again. But interesting. I'll take notes on that and see what I can see here.
Yeah,
this weekend.
He had a great play on special teams early in the second half.
Okay.
Which really caught my eye. And then seeing him, he had a couple good rushes, but had one where he generated pressure, had some good against run, couple plays against run. But Jonah Ellis, the big thing for him that he needed to improve on was his run defense. He was great against the run for the 49ers, which is really intriguing for him, especially with how little he's been able to really practice because he's been working back from that shoulder surgery. Linebacker, no Greenlaw, no Singleton. I think those are pretty safe bets. Justin Strnad looked improved against the 49ers, which again, they didn't play all of their starters. They didn't play many of their starters. Lavelle Bailey, he's a guy that I've talked about a lot. There's a lot of hopes in him, but my God, was he bad against the 49ers. You have Karine Reed, who had one big play in coverage, but he didn't do much else and looked rather bad against the run. Then you have Jordan Turner, who looked really good against the run and had a couple big plays against the run, but looked awful in coverage. Linebacker is the one position that I think is completely wide open. Drew Sanders probably going to land on injured reserve. Probably one of those guys that makes the initial roster, then goes on injured reserve, so they can potentially bring him back. Which is unfortunate because with this linebacker room as unit is looking, he probably had a good chance to make actually earn his place on the roster instead of getting hurt to land on it.
Yeah.
Despite me counting him out, but hey, this linebacker unit, it's bad. I've been saying it's bad. It's looking bad. Well, someone, I don't care who it is, someone please step up.
I thought Lavelle Bailey actually had a decent game. It wasn't great, but I thought he played all right. The Karine Reed interception, Carter Bradley just completely missed him sitting in a hook zone and threw it directly to him. He made a nice catch for sure. It was a good play, but that was about as easy as it gets. It was literally pitch and catch. You could not. It was
an athletic movement play where he showed his athleticism to bend exactly to get it without having to move a whole lot.
Yeah, it was a nice play for what it was. This linebacker room. So Mike Clay of ESPN. I wanted to mention this. Mike Clay of ESPN did his position rankings and ranking the NFL. And he had this linebacker room as number 4 in the NFL, and the Broncos edge room is number 23. I think he had a mix-up here, and he needs to flip those numbers because the edge room for this Broncos team is a hell of a lot better, even with Greenlaw and Singleton as your starters, because the depth of this linebacker room is absolutely horrendous. It's not good. We need anybody. I really want to see, because there's been a lot of really good reports coming out of training camp with Lavelle Bailey, and I was kind of underwhelmed. I thought he played all right. It was okay. You went back and watched it again and again and again and again because you watched the game 11 freaking times. I watched it twice. Actually, I got halfway through a third time we're watching it, but regardless.
Quickly on Sanders, I don't think Sanders was on his way to make the roster, and I don't think that the Broncos are worrying about him getting claimed on waivers or not. I think they were ready to move on. The injury obviously how he performed in camp could have been a variable on here, but coming into camp before his injury, they were ready to move on. I'll just say that they were ready to move on. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Nick and I in the mornings, we've really touched on it. But I think with his injury, he's going to be around the Broncos this year. The question is, does he get put on injured reserve before the roster cutdowns, which means that he misses the whole year? Or do they wait, carry him over to the 53-man roster, and then put him on injured reserve to where they are eligible to call him back off of it and activated him off it, injured reserve? That's the question with Sanders. He's going to be around this year because of the injury. But I don't think without the injury, barring him drastically being improved, he wasn't making it. No, he wasn't released. He's just hurt.
There was a foot connective tissue injury. I don't know exactly what that all entirely means, but
something that's going to cause them to miss like 4 to 8 weeks in the regular season.
Right, and you touched on, could they put him on injured reserve to go into the season? That would force him to miss the entire year. But wouldn't that open up? I don't know how much cap savings it would give you, but wouldn't that open up an injury buyout, and then he would be just released?
Yeah, so they could also then go the injury buyout, which there's a whole lot of rules there. You have to basically pay him for the X amount of weeks that they would project him to miss, and from there, after that buyout, after that term is done, so if they buy him out for 8 weeks, after those 8 weeks, he can then be free to sign somewhere else, and then after 2 weeks after that, he would be free to re-sign with the Broncos, as the teams who do the injury buyout have to wait a little bit extra longer or a little bit more time for that. So that would be the other option as well. But I think that you don't risk that, and because of that extra time, and if they wanted to keep him, and they would wait and put him on injury reserve later.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And
but
again, what they said, 4 to 8 weeks, I thought was the report.
Yeah, 4 to 8 weeks of the regular season is what he's going to miss.
So it's a short-term IR candidate for sure, but there's multiple different options there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with Lavelle Bailey, dude didn't show any improvements against the run compared to last year. He was awful in making reads. Lance, I got to jump out of here. I have a phone call from my mother who currently has my daughter, so I will pass this off to you and give her a call and be right back.
Oh, that's all good. All right, guys, let's go to the cornerback position. There's a handful of different players on this roster. Obviously, you're not going to see, guys like Pat Surtain. You're not going to see Riley Moss. My big question here is, how long does Jahdae Barron and Jaquan McMillan play? Like, those are really the guys that those are your, 1A, 1B. We consider them starters, but they're not quite starters yet. So how long do those guys see the field? And then the big thing here is how long does Chris Abrams-Drain play? What does he show? He showed really well in the preseason. He showed really well in the game against the 49ers. Like, he's a guy that is potentially a starter on 31 other teams in the NFL.
Who?
So Chris Abrams-Drain.
Oh, okay.
So, like, how long? Like I said, I started this off by saying, excuse me. How long do you see Jahdae Barron? Excuse me. How long do you see Jaquan McMillan? Those are your, 1A, 1B, your nickel slot guys that are like the tail end, not really the tail end of the starters, but 1A, 1B, they're considered starters. Guys, like Sean Payton said, they play 8 to 10 snaps. How long do those guys play? Before then you go on to guys like Chris Abrams-Drain. How does what's the kid that had the interception? What's his name? Joshua Pickett. Like, how far do you get between Jahdae Barron, between Jaquan McMillan, to see the other guys that can play the inside outside? Joshua Pickett comes to mind. Reese Taylor as well. Like, what is this?
Reese Taylor's been dealing with an injury, so.
Oh, okay.
Now, fun fact with Chris Abrams-Drain, do you know how many catches he's allowed, regular and preseason? Do you know how many catches he's allowed?
I saw this number. It was like 3 on 13 targets last year, and then 1 on 4 or something like that. It's like it only allowed like 4 receptions total. He
has allowed 8 total catches between regular season and preseason game, while being targeted 28 times. That's insane. 28 targets, 8 catches allowed between regular season and postseason. Mm-hmm. In the regular season last year, he allowed only 5 catches on 15 targets, with an interception and 2 passes being broken up. Those are insane numbers. Those are a guy that are hard to keep around just for depth. I'm not saying he's going to replace Riley Moss this year. I don't expect it. But if Riley Moss has another game like he did against the 49ers, if he plays, that opportunity opens up a little bit, especially with the injury history that Riley Moss has. But I'm not sure Chris Abrams-Drain would be great in the slot. He's a boundary guy. I don't think he's got the size as a run defender to play in the nickel.
Right.
But he is a guy that I'm looking at as a potential Moss replacement next year, because he is not showing a guy of we can keep him around as depth forever. I wouldn't be surprised if teams come calling for a trade for him after this year. And then I did catch for how much time you would play. I would play Jahdae Barron for a few series, probably most of the first quarter. And and I would start him over Macmillan. And then I would put in Macmillan for a few series because you have a general idea what he is. He's going to bust and lose coverage a few times, but he's going to give you a big play in return at some point.
Right.
Guys, Drew Sanders didn't get released. He's just hurt. Drew Sanders didn't get released.
I don't know where that's coming from.
I think with how we were talking, it kind of came.
Okay.
Wires got crossed, but just want to make sure Drew Sanders did not get released. We are not saying he got released. We are just saying that I think he probably would have had he not got hurt. No, the injury changes things for it.
Well, and that injury happened early in camp too. It was even before the Matt Henningsen tore his Achilles the other day. It was like what?
It was like on the second day of practice.
Yeah, like quite literally. And it was one of those things where a lot of people in the media said, "Well, is he just getting that injury prone label going to get thrown at him because he tore his Achilles?" Like that's kind of where it's at right now. And with a player. Erick, you and I have gone back and forth with the tape that he showed coming off the edge was not good. He struggled with it as a linebacker. You can say it if you want to. I know you've said it before.
It was dog poo. I'll put it that way.
But with a player with upside like that, with athletic upside, length, like he's got good size, you just got to get him to figure it out between the ear holes and behind the eyeballs. Like that's where the big problem that Drew Sanders has had. And I don't know if you guys touched on this. I heard some things through the grapevine. He's not figuring that out. That's the big problem.
Yeah.
It's not athletically. Athletically, he can do everything you need him to. He's just never in the right position, doesn't understand how to read his keys, and he doesn't know how to attack the football the right way. It's like see ball, chase ball very, very, very much in his aspect. So is there a spot for a player like that in the NFL? Sure. On special teams? Maybe
special teams in depth and hope he figures it out. Yeah, like there's a spot for him, but he was a guy that the Broncos really liked. It's not clicking for him on defense. That's with things that I've heard. That's why I think that they're ready to move on. But we do have a question here. We have Flying Anger Pig before we get to the safeties asking about the Broncos signing a cornerback, Micah Abraham. I can't remember the exact name. They signed Gregory Jr. 2 days ago. He ended up pulling a hamstring. They waived injured him today to make room for him. They just need another body. Mm-hmm. Like they just need another body of it. Reese Taylor's been dealing with an injury. Another one of their depth corners has been dealing with something. So they just need another body to kind of finish out the preseason and practices. Not expecting anything more than that. Mm-hmm. As for safeties, I doubt we see Hufanga. I doubt we see Jones. I doubt we see PJ Locke as he's still working back from a back injury. JL Skinner, Sam Franklin, Keidron Smith, Delaire, and Turniel. One of those guys had a good game against the 49ers. The rest of them all looked like they don't belong in the NFL on defense. Sam Franklin had a great game on special teams, but defensively, he looked lost. JL Skinner had a great game against the 2s and 3s. Mm-hmm. So I think that he's kind of pushing himself again to be that fourth, I guess, safety. I do think that they end up keeping PJ Locke around at this point, depending on how things come back from the back injury. That really throws a wrinkle into it. And I am hard pressed to keep another safety outside of special team, Sam Franklin for special teams, because Delaire Turniel was awful. Mm-hmm. Special teams defense, Keidron Smith, not a special teams guy, made the roster last year because of his ball hawking ability. Had 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery last year in the preseason or something like that.
Yep, 2 in 1 game.
And that helped him make the roster. And then he just wasn't viable as an active because he didn't play special teams. So it's really tough. Safety is like linebacker, but a little bit where you have one guy, Sternad at linebacker, Skinner at safety, that have kind of stepped up, but you still need somebody else to step up.
Yeah. JL Skinner made it really hard to want to get him off this roster with what he did in the first and second quarter on special teams. He was all over the place. He had 3 tackles. I thought he had 2 tackles in the first and second quarter on special teams on kickoff.
Oh, on special teams.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Yep. I thought you were saying I thought you said defense.
No. His special teams versatility.
Yeah.
The fact
he was the best special teams player last year. Like, so I'm not surprised he's great. He's doing
he's like, it makes it really hard to move on from a guy like that, even if he doesn't have a huge impact on defense, because you've got Talanoa Hufanga, who plays a very similar role to what JL Skinner would be within this defense. A guy that's going to play closer to the line of scrimmage, be kind of that rangy side-to-side linebacker, not a player that's going to play with depth and range on the back end. He's not a coverage player. But in terms of just running downhill, being a 6'4" player with length and size and a heat-seeking missile as a tackler, you can't get much better than that from a safety as a special teams player. I'm really curious to see what he looks like this week on special teams. And honestly, if he does that again, I think he cements his roster spot, to tell you the truth. He would, I don't want to say safety 3 because I think, like you said, PJ Locke has that more versatility for the defensive side of the football, but he would easily cement himself as safety number 4. Sam Franklin, another player that he had a dumb penalty. Was it a pass interference penalty that he had against?
I don't remember.
It was a dumb penalty in the fourth quarter. I know it got way early on a pass run. I think it was a pass interference play. It didn't really matter because by that point the game was completely over. But like you said, another special teams player. If you can get
that was Lauren Turniel, not Sam Franklin.
Was it Turniel? Okay, so I got my numbers.
Or Jaden Robinson, one of the two.
Yeah, I know there was a bad special teams, a bad play from Sam Franklin specifically. I don't remember it. I thought it was a penalty, but regardless, like if you got Skinner as that 4 safety, you open up. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cornerbacks. If you keep Damari Mathis potentially, and then four safeties, or is it Damari Mathis and Sam Franklin as that last piece of the roster math in the tail end of the secondary there?
Yeah, I mean that's the question with the safety position. Who's gonna do what? How does it play out? I will say helping helping JL Skinner as well is with the role they have Talanoa Hufanga is kind of this hybrid box linebacker safety that can be versatile. There's no other safety on this roster that can do that besides Skinner.
Yeah.
And the way they use him is kind of showing that he can kind of fill that. Yeah. Special teams, real quick, as we have a question about Crawshaw, is he proving his worth for a 6th round pick when most going drafted? He punted terribly, but not overly panicked. He's been doing great in camp. Preseason could have been jitters, could have been multiple things. He's one to watch. Will Lutz, the long snapper, they don't have any competition for any of them. So Crawshaw is still one to keep an eye on.
There's been mixed reporting coming out of Broncos training camp, and there's a certain radio head calling him Crawshank because 1 out of every 4 or 5 punts is not very good. But the 4 other punts that he has are just big, high, booming, beautiful, long, big, big hang time, like touching 5 seconds worth of hang time. But the shanks are coming too consistent in his ability right now. As a rookie, Australian rules punter, let's be honest here. He's learning how to kick at the NFL level here. But
let's be honest with his evaluation as a rookie, what was the big issue for it? Sure, he can place kick, sure he can boom it. The issue was he struggled with consistency in both.
Yep.
So if he is, 1 out of 4 punts is shanked, not surprised because we kind of saw that in college football as well.
Right, and Darren Rizzi actually came out and talked about that when the coordinator spoke the other day, saying, it's like a golfer getting out there on the driving range where you hit 4 or 5 really good ones, and they all look long and pretty, and then the next one you just dump into the water. Like, people are taking that comment completely out of context and making it way worse than what it needs to be. It is what it is. It's a rookie punter. You're going to deal with that.
Yeah. And we have Papa Bear coming in with a $2 super chat to close out our night. So thank you, Papa Bear. We appreciate that and appreciate you being a member, which for anybody else on YouTube, like we have Quentin Caldwell, we have Michael Ronquillo, and multiple others, Pearl Heater, Flying Anger Pig. If you want to, you can help support us by becoming a member over on YouTube and, enjoy some of the special content that we have exclusive to members, as well as some of the content that we have coming in. But that is going to do it for tonight. But before we get out of here, just a couple final words. If you guys are not doing so, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. This helps us out with the algorithms that are ever changing and ever frustrating. That helps us get out to more eyeballs, more ears, and just helps grow the Mile High Huddle network and add to the Mile High Huddle family that we have cultivated over the last 10 years of Mile High Huddle. 9 years, something like that. Can't remember exactly how long. Make sure you guys go over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whether you're listening to the show now. Just go over there, leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some gear, not swag. I hate saying swag every single month. Or if you're listening to the After Fact on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you guys leave a quick review as well. It could be just something as, hey, Eric looks handsome with a beard, or hey, Lance looks funny. It could be something as simple as that. Just make sure you guys leave a review for a chance to win some gear. You guys can follow us on Instagram.
You make fun of me about 6 or 7 more times. I'm not going to do the show with you. I'm telling you, I'm going to leave forever.
Tonight. Next week, the count starts over next week.
Yeah, the count starts over next week. 6 or 7 more times tonight. I'm never doing the show with you again.
Okay. I'll try to get six or 7 in. Anyways, you guys can follow us on Instagram at Mile High Huddle with an underscore between Mile and High and Huddle, where you guys get access to all of our content that comes up through there. You can also follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Mile High Huddle, at the MHH Pod, at DVDD_pod, or us individually at Erick Trickel and at Lance S_MHH. You guys can also help out financially with merchandise like the hats that we have on, shirts, mugs, whatever, by going to mhhmerch.com to get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate saying swag. But we are one of the many Mile High Huddle podcasts, and you can also follow us on Facebook. Sorry, my banners got rearranged, so now it's all out of order. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as another one that I can't ever remember what it is, but you guys can follow us on there and get access to all of our written content and enjoy the wonderful Facebook community that we have and talk Broncos football over there with them as well. But thank you guys for joining us on this wonderful Friday night. But before we get out of here, Lance, any final words?
No, just again, guys, don't overreact to preseason games. We always talk about this every single year. It's like, you see the good reports from camp, you see the bad reports from camp, you see this player X had great plays today and he struggles in the game, or for example, Joaquin Davis looks like a standout in camp, like yada yada yada, and now he's not doing anything in the games. It's preseason. It's all evaluation time. Take what you can get, evaluate what you can. Don't get too high, don't get too low until you really get into like major injury concerns. Knock on wood here. Major injury concerns, or when things are looking absolutely disastrous, then you can maybe start to take away some things and have that overreaction. Chill. Enjoy what you're seeing. Enjoy the fact that football is back. Broncos football is right around the corner. The regular season's not even a month away. We're right there, guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. You all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Broncos.
Speaking of overreactions, Lance likes to overreact to me making fun of him. And I'm going to overreact and fire my mother for calling me in the middle of a show about Jell-O. That's what the call was about. It was about Jell-O.
At least I kept us alive. I don't do solo shows. It makes me super nervous. I don't know why. Like
I prefer solo shows.
Well, then go ahead and do DVD by yourself, butthead. Jeez. Good Lord.
Language. But anyways, if you guys are watching on Facebook, also make sure you guys leave a like Gary Grant, Justice Martinez, Gene William, George Fox, Emmett Smith, Eric Weber, Peter Middleton, and multiple others. Or you can leave the love emoji like Amy did over on Facebook. We appreciate you guys so much. Even those of you who just listen in and don't join in the conversation, we appreciate you all. We appreciate those who came in and super chatted and starred like Michael Ronquillo and Papa Bear. We appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday night. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. And as my good friend Nick always says, choose kindness and compassion, unless it comes to Lance, and have a wonderful weekend. And of course, go Broncos.